push through and punch through a vision with passion, a vision with passion.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Purpose by Design podcast. I'm Pamela Hinkle. I'm so glad that you are here today. Listeners, you are going to be so encouraged and blessed by my guest that is here today. I have Cheryll Stewart. And Cheryll, I'm so excited that you're here. We have connected through Power Voice with Les Brown. We've connected through Thinking into Results with John Tallarico. And I've gotten a chance to get to know what a powerhouse you are. I'm so excited to have you as my guest today. So would you just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who is Cheryll?
Okay, good morning, everyone. Pam, thank you for having me. And, it's such an honor and privilege to be sharing with you today. Basically, we are here to help, to serve, to stimulate, to empower, and we'll do it as we go along, right? Mm-hmm. So, if you're asking who Cheryll Stewart is, professionally, I am a business analyst. Basically what that does, I work with entrepreneurs, especially small businesses. And what I do with them is that, one, if you're in a startup mode, I help to get you to the point of turnkey, opening your day one business, or if you're in business and you get a little stuck, we move you over that hump. But all along, we're developing the business and we're developing the person, right? Now, my background basically has been all over the place. It's prepared me to be here. And it's strange though, how I got into so many different fields. It's through what I would call accidental, yeah? Pretty much, what has happened is that I started out working in one company, and because I wanted more, I would work in that company 8:30 to 4:15 in the morning, no, in the day, 8:30 a.m. to 4:15 p.m. And then I would rush out of there to pick up at 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. Monday to Friday, and 9 to 3 on a Saturday. Now, I picked that up, the second job, as a 6-month contract. They offered me a permanent position after the 6 months. How did I make that decision, right? I looked at what I was getting at that first job, and I looked at what I was making. I had no idea of what a permanent salary would be like. But being a temp, being a contract without any kind of benefits, etc., I looked at it, and on paper, I was earning more, putting in 40 hours there than I was earning in a full-time job, being paid and being given an incentive because of my qualification. And that was without anything. That was just the basic money. And we'll say it's not all about money, but when you look at the opportunities that you could get, I worked with a national airline here, Air Jamaica. And what that led me to do is to fuel my entrepreneurship spirit. So yes, I would go, in Jamaica, we call it foreign, yeah? So we'll go overseas and we would buy stuff and we would come back and we would sell. One of the ways at one stage to get foreign exchange, we would take our own Jamaican rum to the US, Canada, and we would sell it to wholesale liquors persons there and get the exchange and buy whatever it is that you need to come back. And working Mondays to Fridays, you are doing that on a weekend or you're taking your day off. But after 7 years, the company was being sold. and I lost my job.
Oh, man.
Now, I don't know what you think. Being one of the most qualified persons in my department, being one of the persons who were asked to, do more and do overtime, but my thing is that I'm outspoken. And probably sometimes you crush person's toe without even knowing it. But anyway, besides that, I lost my job. I was heartbroken. But at that time, I wasn't even sure. I wasn't prepared. And I wasn't even sure what I would have done. But luckily, somebody looked out for me and I got a job in the shipping industry. I found out then that I was pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
And when you look what was happening there, you wouldn't have any benefits. I stopped working that job after 3 months and I was out of a job again, right? But being me, I baked, I did odd jobs here and there. I picked up my friends' kids from school. I would go and do deliveries. At one time, I remember my sister-in-law offering me a job to set up her system in her flower shop to put everything online, So it just didn't matter what it was, I would have done that.
Sure.
I got another job because of an introduction of my friend to one of her clients. She had a hairdressing parlor, and that person would always come there. That would be my day base, really, because I had to be out. I had to be connecting with people, and I got another job. Now, this one was in HR development, human resource development, right?
Yeah.
So what I was doing was that I was consulting and having people, and developing training programs for people, something that I'd never done before. Because of that, I was put in a program of training paid for by the company. So now I added to my repertoire skills. My background is in business, yes? So adding that to everything else. Now, that company was part of a group of companies that decided, no, we had to downsize because things are not going the way we planned. Now, I had moved over into marketing for that company, and pretty much they centralized that function. So you know what? I was again out of a job.
Wow.
Didn't deter me. Anyway, I then had a 3-year-old daughter, single parent. I was actually doing my master's program at the time with Nova Southeastern University. And pretty much I had borrowed the money to do that program.
Wow.
What I used to do to pay for that program, I got a car upkeep of $8,000 and probably $50 or something like that on a monthly basis. And I would make up the difference, which would probably be 1,000 and something Jamaican dollars, not US, to pay that monthly loan for my education, right? So that being said, it didn't stop there. A friend of mine who had a school, who used to teach, invited me to teach for her when she had to go away. So I started lecturing. Now, I have a background in business. I'm now in human resource development, and I started lecturing. So that I did because it helped to give me some money. And even when I got another job, I still continued to do that. Right? Now, because of my willingness to serve, because of my being open to just doing anything. I'm somebody who will say, you will say to me, Cheryl, can you do this? I quickly say yes. And then I say, oh my God, what did you just commit to? But guess what? I think it was Richard Branson who says, if somebody asks you something, I saw that sometime later in life. And he said, if someone asks you something, say yes, then go figure it out. That was what I did. And I found that to be my way of leveraging my opportunities, right? So I got a job and I started helping young people. This is what it was. I would take persons who are high school graduates, grade 12 in your instance, right? And we would place them in an organization for on-the-job training, and we would certify them. Right, so they are the responsibility of their supervisor in terms of the on-the-job skills. We would give them what the curriculum would have been, so they would follow that. And then on our end, we would give them a certification exam. Now, doing that, I was later promoted. As a matter of fact, there's so many things that happened during that time that propelled me, that people saw me, people knew my abilities, you know. So the next job I got in the organization, I didn't even apply for it. I was offered an interview. And my way of going to that interview was, okay, you invited me to that interview. I told no one, right? But I mean, this was what was going through my head. You invited me to this interview. I'm gonna go. You already know my capabilities. I'm just gonna go. I didn't lose a sweat over it, right? I got it. I got that position. Now, I started supervising people. And let me tell you something. I'm somebody who paid forward. In my very first job, after I left university or college, as we would call it those days, my manager, and I call her name, Geraldine Price. She was the mortgage manager in the company that I worked. And her philosophy was, if you see something that you want to do, go ahead. Don't think that you're a resident here, you know? So it helped me because when I made my move to my next job, I remember that. So I told her what I was doing. I was free to do what I was doing because I was moving on. I was developing myself. So I allowed my staff to develop themselves, you know? I would always ask them to be accountable for what it is that they were doing, but I would allow them some time to go to class, some time to go study, you know, because we worked in a flexible environment. The thing was to get the job done. All I said, let me know what is happening so I'm not caught flat-footed, you know? So after being in that job for about 10 years, a coworker of mine died. And about a week after that, a senior person in the company called me to say, Cheryl, I said, hi, how are you? This was on a Saturday, and it's strange for the person to be calling. You know, it's just this happy person, right? So he said, you know, I was thinking of somebody for this position, and you were recommended by the senior person who was in my division. So it was another division. And I was trying to find you. I couldn't find you, you know, but are you interested? And I said, yes. And I remembered I went home that night and I had nightmares because that person was killed. He was killed, and he was my friend. And you just see pictures of somebody who was on the floor, you know. But then I said, I've already given my commitment, and I'm somebody who will always follow through on that commitment, right? So and pretty much I jumped into that position helping entrepreneurs. And this is where I ended in October, where I was again kicked out by God, I would say, to go to my higher calling, you know. So I'm someone who I seize the opportunity with or without this, knowing that I have the skill set, one. Two, I create all the opportunities to develop myself, to capitalize on the opportunity and to deliver on it, because maybe a little later, maybe I should tell you now that when the government was looking at cutting back on some of the things that required us to use foreign exchange, at that time, our dollar was 1 US to maybe 100 Jamaican dollars. It's right now a US to $155, right? So in order to save budgetarily, they would not approve overseas travel. But I knew that I had to do whatever it took for me to get the skill set, to get the connections to do what I had to do. Here what I did. I would apply for vacation leave. I would pay my way there, wherever the training was, mostly in the US though, and I would pay for my conference fee. Now, it was a stretch, and sometimes it was more than a stretch, but I would speak to the conference organizers and I would say, look, I am self-sponsoring. This is my situation. And I would share with them what the exchange rate was. So I remembered one time in particular, it was $130 to one, right? And they say, okay, Cheryl, no problem. My mentor was then on the board. It was the International Business Innovation Association. She was then on the board of directors, and she would say to me, you could stay with me. Just get your butt here if you decide that. You can stay with me. With all of that, Pam, I understood and didn't know that I was acting out. Give and ye shall receive.
Wow, yeah.
So after not having the money to pay the conference fee, after I booked my airfare and all of those things that I needed to do to get to where that conference was, I would still go. I would buy Jamaican coffee. I would buy Jamaican rum, the good quality ones, the aged rums, and I would give to these people who were helping me, showing gratitude. You know, so much so that sometimes when I do things afterward, I was worried about the perception of what these people would say. And it was self-manifested. It was, because everybody was grateful. Everybody was happy for a Jamaican coffee. You know, it's the world's best coffee. Jamaican rum is the world's best rum, you know. So people yearn for these things, and you're giving the people what they want. So these people always looked out for me. So I would go to these conferences. I would pay on the day that I arrive, but I would still get the discounted rate. I go preparing to pay what is due. But the Lord worked it through that, hey, Cheryl, this is all you're doing. pay it forward to country, here is what I have in store for you. So much so that I, up to now, am the representative for that organization in this country, right? So because of my work as well, I also represent the Global Entrepreneurship Network here in Jamaica, right?
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes, so I've not sat for people to give these things to me on a platter. And somehow people will look at it to say, you're successful. But what is it that you define as success? When on the face of it, looking at me now, I am looking pretty and I always try to put myself together. But underneath, self-doubt is holding you down. So some of the things that I could have done, should have done to get me even further along the journey, I didn't do because of fear. I doubted myself. People had more faith in me than I had in myself. And I'm learning to accept that I am unique, that I am self-made, that I am the best of what I do, because it's something that I instill in my daughter. There's no one like you. There is no one. And for the listeners out there, my story is something that you can take and push yourself forward, because you, and I'm going to use a word by Les Brown, and I use his quote, you have greatness within you.
Yes.
You are the greatest thing to mankind that anyone can see. We are unique in our own ways. The strength that I have, it's not the strength that you have. We complement each other. So if you are not so certain of whom you are and for whose you are, think about what it was when you were a child. I can sit here and I can tell you, Pam, the late Reverend Dr. George V. Simpson came to my church. I used to go to a church called Mount Carey Baptist Church. It's a renowned church in the Baptist, well, all across Jamaica. And it's a huge church. At age 16, Reverend Simpson came there maybe about 2 years before that. He called on me to go sing the Hallelujah chorus without a microphone in a church that was as big as, I tried to measure the length of it. It's probably about 8 lorries in length. I mean, lorries with the attachment, those trailers, right? Well, that's what it seemed like to me. That's the only thing that I couldn't. And I had to project my voice and I had to sing clearly without a microphone. And I can remember, you know, using all the variations in tones and the different, different chords, singing at the different levels, you know, and going up there, you understand? And when I remembered and when I really got into that song was when I said, sing for the night is o'er, Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna to your King. You know, you know when you're running a race like Usain Bolt, when you're at the last, you feel so confident that yes, I can do it. You know, and if we all take the belief that we are the best and our infinite power is within us, and I'm going to use something I quote from Bob Proctor, we have the strength within us. We have the energy to generate what we want, you know. In Jamaica, we would say, go out there and kill it, man. You know, go out there and kill it. I don't know if I'm talking too much, Pam, but you can let me know.
Great. I'm listening and enjoying.
Yeah, you know, so part of who I am too. I used to be a Sunday school teacher. When I did it, I always volunteered because I grew up in a family where my parents were leaders, both in business and in politics. My father was a former mayor of the city of Montego Bay. He also was a second vice president of World Conference of Mayors. And he brought that to Jamaica when he was alive, you know? So I never thought of it before though. Maybe that's where I got those things from.
Sure.
You know, my mother was a very good writer. She would write my father's speech, you know, and they were in a business together, you know. So I grew up seeing my parents being self-sufficient, being, you know, when we cook at home on a Sunday, and even though I still can't cook a little amount, right? When we cook on a Sunday, my mother was of the opinion that if somebody else comes, they should be able to get dinner and not scrapsies, as we would say. Scrapsies are meat. If you understand, small portions or what's left over, that sort of a thing. So I know I'm blessed to be sitting in a position where I can help. So right now, I am involved in three businesses, right? And in one, I have committed to helping entrepreneurs, my way of paying it forward or paying it back, however you say, because I understand that micro businesses, and those are the very small ones, yeah? The owners, in most instances, don't understand what it takes to really get your business where it ought to be. Secondly, they are not attractive for financing. So they have to bootstrap. They have to find it themselves. And you know what it is when you're working in a business as opposed to when you're working on a business. So I'm there as the one who is doing the call to action, doing the creating for you, the synergies, the connections, all of that, you know, and to tell them, you can do this, you know, because they don't know. So I'm working with two businesses now on my own time for free, right? And it is something that if we look at it, we do it every day, but we are not committed to doing something. Somebody may ask you, oh, can you do this for me? And you say, yes, and it's a one shot, but I'm committed to taking them from one place to another, you know? And I can throw it out to you here, Pam. If there's any of your listeners on this call that would want to benefit from my skills, I would work with one person to do that. And, you know, sometimes we say one, we end up doing others, but yeah, you know, let's see where that goes, you know. I'm also working in another company that I'm creating right now as a support to tech in schools, right? Because with the coronavirus, people are still studying from home.
Sure.
And there's much needed help there. And I'm in another technology business in the world of network marketing, whereby I make money when people save money. And all I do is give you a free link. So if you want to go on a vacation, I give you a free link. If another thing that we do too is that the whole thing of bills, people overpay bills, right? So I give you a free link and you work with them, and they help to see if you have the best rate forward. So I'm a helping person. In my industry, they call me yellow. So I'm a yellow-red personality because I go, but I'm so compassionate and I will cry. You know, that side of me.
Mhm.
And I'm going to be real with your listeners. Sometimes I'm short-tempered because I don't like to see people fool around. You know, I don't like it. I will help you along, but hey guys, we have to level up for ourselves. You have to level up for yourself.
Truth.
And you are the one, especially if you have a mentor, and people in the world don't understand that you need a mentor.
Mhm.
I have a business coach, and I'm a business coach because how I look at my business is not how you're going to look at mine.
Right.
So we have to be accountable to someone else in order to move along.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow, that was so good. You know, Cheryl, I was taking notes. I am a note taker, notorious for taking notes. But some of the things that I wrote down was your motto is say yes, then figure it out. That sort of seemed like, even though you were quoting someone else, but it really became your motto. And that
Branson.
really spoke to me personally. And then I didn't know that you sang, so I had to write that down. You sing. That's amazing. And to be able to project your voice like that, that's a lot of effort.
I think I got that from my mother's side of the family. Her mother was a church organist, and all of them used to sing. All. ALL.
Oh my goodness, that is so awesome. And you know that like the real win here, takeaway for me as a mom, and so parents out there, parents, grandparents, you know, aunties, uncles, whatever, just listen to this from my heart. I always talk about the importance of the example that we're putting forth to our children, right? And you said that you are proof of the example of from your parents. And I'm sitting there looking at you as you're saying that, and I'm looking at you and saying, all of the roller coaster ride that your life has been in the area of business and employment, and you never quit, you didn't give up, you just kept pushing, you gave 110% of yourself, you would reinvent yourself, as our mentor Les Brown says, just keep reinventing, keep reinstating, keep going. And as you're sharing all of this, and it was not my first time of hearing this part of your story, but this time when you're saying it, I'm thinking, man, she kept so positive. She kept pushing through. Where did this come from? From your parents. So what an example, a living example, or a living epistle right here of the importance that we are constantly imputing into, yes, our children, our grandchildren, maybe the niece, the nephew, but you know, as you said, working with the youth of today, just the young people in our lives. When I say young people, that could be just younger than you. It could be much younger than you. It could be children, but that our example, you use this word too, pays it forward, doesn't it? And pays it back. So that was a huge takeaway for me in this time. And of course, I will be adopting Go and Kill It, man. I love that. That was great. So
Yeah.
before we wind down, I wanted to ask you one more question. And that is because we had questions, but you answered them. I mean, like you went through them and you handled them. So the only one really that I have left is I ask my guests what purpose by design means to them. Now, I don't mean like what I'm doing necessarily or this podcast, but when you hear those words, especially coming through what you've been through, the ups and downs and the all arounds, and just to keep pushing and pushing, I mean, there was one other thing I was going to say about you in case that listeners missed it. Did you hear that she had a 3-year-old daughter, lost her job, and was still pursuing her master's degree, and even had to find ways to borrow and make the money to pay for the degree? So, talking about purpose by design now, you have this incredible story. Your backstory is so powerful, Cheryl. So to the listeners, what do you think of? What bubbles up in your heart with the words purpose by design?
It has to come from a place of love. Yeah?
Yes.
So sometimes we go day to day just doing the things that we love to do. And when you look back, and I love to borrow these quotes, Steve Jobs says, you connect the dots looking backward.
Yes.
Yes? So in our country, right, we are community oriented. Yeah? So it takes a village to raise a child, right? And pretty much you just go about and you do what you're doing. You know, my purpose is to develop people, and purpose by design is that you walk into it unknowingly and deliver. You walk into it unknowingly and deliver. And when I speak about delivery, you deliver like no one else can. You don't even know that's what you're doing until it is brought to your attention. And you said, oh my God. And then you start to look back and look at the impact that you have made. So it was by design that I ended up in that organization where I was for 20 years, because I have impacted hundreds of lives of young people. I went to the Royalton Blue Waters when my daughter was here the other day, and I saw one of the lives that I impacted at age 19. And she said to me, because, you know, we're all wearing masks, right?
Yes.
And she said, you know, but I know that voice. And I said, really? We're in the coffee shop. And she said, what's your name? I said, my name is Cheryl Stewart. She said, Cheryl Stewart, you remember me?
Oh.
At 19, I came to you, and Alika Green was her name. She's now a senior manager in one of the banks here in Jamaica.
Wow.
I have another one who, and you don't even know these things until you start to work with these people. I had great human resource matching skills by being able to match the future of these young people with a company that would propel them forward, right? And this young man I saw in the papers the other day and online, he's celebrating 10 years of being an entrepreneur, of somebody who has seen different levels and can command anybody in any room, right? And pretty much is a celebrity. Yeah. So when you see things like those, and when you hear that, you know, oh, miss, my auntie said to tell you hello, my aunt, yeah? And I'm speaking Jamaican now, like they would have. My auntie said to tell you hello, and she asks me every day if I speak with you. You talk to me, Stewart? Yeah, I remembered one day, this same guy who I'm talking about, this is another one. I made a call because we have a database, right? And when I called the guy and I said to him, are you working? Yes, miss. So what are you doing? I'm a security guard at a service station downtown. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with an honest bread, right? But this guy had an associate degree in information technology, and that's what he could do to survive. I said to him, are you looking for another opportunity? Yes, miss. I placed him in that job. He's there until today.
Wow.
Right? I remembered one Christmas, my daughter was in high school then, and he called me and he said, Miss, where are you? I told him I was at my daughter's school. Okay, I leave in work, it's close by. Don't move, I'm coming to you. That guy came, he handed me, at the time was about 2010, 10,000 Jamaican dollars. That would work out to be maybe 100 US dollars at the time, right? And I said, what are you doing? He said, Miss, are your Christmas this? I don't go about looking for handouts. I don't go about looking for people to say, hey, miss, this is yours, or hey, Cheryl, this is yours. Probably one of the mistakes that we make in life. You know, we've learned to give without an expectation of receiving. But if you don't receive,
right,
you can't live your purpose, you know? And it is something that we have to understand. So it's like if you have a flower, you can't get the bloom from the flower unless you water the plant, unless you fertilize the plant, and you put it in an area where it will thrive, an area that is environmentally friendly for it.
yes,
But it has to get to give. So your purpose is by design,
yes.
and without knowing it, you are living it every day, but we can always make a difference to the lives we impact.
I love that. Without knowing it, we're living it every day. That's so perfect. Now, I wanted to ask you at the beginning, and we got so into our conversation, but I don't want to close out without asking you that same question about a billboard. So if you had a billboard on the major highways, what would your billboard say?
Woman of power.
Woman of power. Yes.
Woman of power. Just like I'm in this bright color, you couldn't miss it going at 150 miles an hour.
Yes.
Yeah.
Woman of power, which is exactly.
Woman of power.
Oh, that's exactly.
I'm not being sexist by any means, you know, but the men who are listening, you have your ways too.
Yes.
You can put your own billboard. It's something you do every day. You write it, you know. But if it's one thing I would like to say, you have to explore the power within you.
Oh, that's so good, Cheryl.
You have to
Explore the power within.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have in the description how you reach out to Cheryl. But if you want to share any of that, if you want to give your website, or you want to say the URL for Facebook or social media or anything like that, is there anything you want to share like that before we close? Like I said, it's all in the description, but if there's something else that you want to make sure gets added, go ahead.
So I don't have a website now. I'm building that out as we speak, but I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook as CHERYLLSTEWART, right?
Yep.
I'm on Instagram as STEWIEC from my first name 876. And 876 is the area code for Jamaica.
Okay.
So Stewie C 876. So follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook. You can message me if there is something that you figure that I can help you with. Let's take this world by storm. Let's get the things done because we are here to deliver on our purpose.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. And all of those all of her, I'm sorry, all those descriptions, you know what I mean. It's all in the description. Oh, Cheryl, thank you. And listeners, thank you for being here today. I know that you have been changed and that you are really ready to go out and kill it, man. You're ready. So thank you for listening. Now, I have a favor to ask of you, listeners, today. Would you please let the world know about Purpose by Design? Because I always say Purpose by Design is a whole new world, and we need to let everybody out there know about this world and share the message that Cheryl gave today. Share her story. So would you would you subscribe, would you comment and share? And let's take the world, as Cheryl said, by storm. Thank you so much for being here, listeners. And thank you, Cheryl, for being here today. And remember, you do have a purpose by design, not by default. You are the salt and the light everywhere that you go. Thank you so much, and blessings.
Thank you.